Wadi River half a world away. Rivers provide valuable resource to wildlife. As we enter this first meadow, we're looking for two deer species and an antelope species. But they went over that hill about 3 hours ago, hoping to go to bed on time. Joke's on them. In the meantime, we're looking at some Canadian geese and India's national bird, the peafowl. You know, only the males are called peacocks. The females are called peahens. They get together and make baby pea chicks. Those white things you see all over the ground everywhere are the back feathers of the males who have successfully mated. Once they mate, they shed those feathers. They'll grow new ones for next mating season. Now you can only tell a male from a female, because the males have blue heads and the females have green. These huts tell an important story about the Barasinga deer, who numbered less than 100 not that long ago.
In 1970, there were estimated to be only 66 of the Barasinga deer remaining in central India. But this population was saved by the cooperation of the local Indian community. Like the shacks you see here, there were many small farms using space in and around India's Kanha National Park. These people were coming into contact with the deer and the tigers that were also living there. Through cooperation with the Indian government, local communities agreed to relocate their villages. By moving, the farmers still had land to farm, but the tigers and their prey got more room to roam.
Now we all know that an animal that's extinct is no longer with us, like the dinosaur and the dodo bird. The animals in our next exhibit were completely extinct in nature and could only be found in captivity. We're talking about the Mongolian wild horse, or Przewalski's horse. Right here to the right is our newest baby horse. His name's Naren. He's only 11 weeks old. While there are genetic differences between wild horses and domestic horses, there are physical differences as well. They're shorter and stockier in build. They've got an erect mane that's lacking the forelock, the piece of mane that falls between the eyes of a domestic horse. They're rocking the mohawk. They were born genetically awesome. We've got a long and varied history with this horse. Dates back over 20,000 years, and I have some of that for you right here.
The first accounts of Mongolian wild horses come from rock engravings, paintings, and even cave drawings that date back more than 20,000 years. And the first written accounts were from Tibet, sometime around 900 AD. But these horses remained largely unknown and unnamed to the Western world for many years. During an expedition to Central Asia in 1879, a famous Russian explorer and naturalist, Colonel Nikolai Przewalski, encountered the horse in western Mongolia. Because of his discovery, this species is also known as Przewalski's horse.
Captive breeding of Mongolian wild horses began in 1901 with a herd of only 28 animals. The Bronx Zoo received our first herd in 1902, and we have maintained that herd ever since. We're happy to report that Mongolian wild horses are being reintroduced into the wilds of Mongolia and southern China from both North American and Asian zoos. As you can see, we give our animals lots of room to roam, as we're still in the Mongolian wild horse exhibit. But Diane and I will be able to pinpoint the animals for you today, even if they're not necessarily in plain sight. It's not difficult to do if you'd like to try. Just put yourself in their hooves and figure out where you would go for a shady spot to rest, or a little grazing time. When we reach the top of this hill, we'll be on the lookout for two endangered species, the brow antler deer and the gaur.
Other species, by participating in cooperative zoo management programs called species survival plans. The name says it all. The plans aim to help these animals survive. Zoos across the country work together to maintain genetically diverse populations.
They're currently classified as vulnerable, as all of their habitat has been taken over for farmland in their native Cambodia. To the right are the gaur, the world's largest wild cattle. Males stand 6 feet at the shoulder, 10 feet long, and weigh 2,000 pounds. With their incredible size and horns, a gaur can take on anything, even a tiger. What threatens these beautiful creatures is lack of an Asian habitat and diseases they catch from domestic cattle. If the horns point straight up, it's a male. If they curve in at the top, it's a female. Yes, most of them are female. It's easy to forget sometimes. This is Anakin. He's a 5-year-old, 450-pound Siberian or Amur tiger. In the wild, tigers will eat wild pig and deer. And pig he will. He'll eat 40 pounds of meat in one setting and then not eat again for 3 days. That's the equivalent of 160 hamburgers to you and I. If you ate 160 hamburgers, you wouldn't eat for 3 days either. With less than 3, with an organization called Panthera to increase this number. Tiger stripes, a few more brow antler deer.
There's the gower.
We're now at the back of our first meadow. Little guys with the white bellies are black buck antelope, the smallest antelope species in Asia. Fully grown, 2.5 feet at the shoulder. Males have horns, females do not. Little deer with the white spots on them are axis deer. Axis deer have the distinction of keeping their spots their entire adult lives. And down here on the road are the Barasinga. The word Barasinga means 12-tined in the Hindi language, as males can have 12 to 14 points on their antlers. They're the ones we heard the conservation story about back at the huts. They're also called swamp deer, as they have a splayed hoof, and they prefer the mud to the grass. That peacock that was displaying all of his feathers, we call them bachelors. It means pig deer in the Malay language, because the natives thought their tusks resembled deer antlers. This is Kathy in Hillshire, our mother and piglet. And over here we have Julian and Fez. Julian's to the right with those impressive tusks. Asia's version of Pumbaa. They hail from the island of Sulawesi, and they're highly endangered. People in the back, Julian just jumped in the water. That'll be your best chance to see him. If you didn't see the Barbaroussa, have no fear. You can't miss our next 2 lovely ladies. Again, please refrain from standing or making loud noises, as we do not wish to startle them. Patty and Maxine are 44 years of age and weigh just over 10,000 pounds. They eat fruits, vegetables, 200 pounds of hay, and 60 gallons of water each day. The elephant's trunk is an incredible tool with over 40,000 muscles in it. That's more than the entire human body. It's got a finger-like appendage at the end. With it, they can pick up an egg without breaking it, or tear down a small tree with great force. Patty to the left, Maxine to the right. Maxine is slightly larger with less hair, that's how we tell them apart. And they're the best of friends and always on exhibit together. Don't let the wrinkles fool you, these are 2 pampered ladies. Twice a week they receive baths and pedicures. As we say goodbye to Patty and Maxine, we're going to say hello to my favorite lady at the zoo, our Indian rhino. Hey Callie. Hey beautiful. Many people describe a rhino's skin as armor-plated. It's actually very thin with lots of folds and needs protection from insect bites and the sun. To do this, a rhino will sit in a mud wallow, cover herself with mud, and this acts as a natural sunscreen and insect repellent. Callie was born right here at the Bronx Zoo in 1986 and weighs 3,500 pounds. With less than 2,000 rhinos remaining in the wilds of India and Nepal, we're very fortunate here at the Bronx Zoo to care for 5 of these endangered creatures. Caring for rhinos is one thing, breeding's quite another. We're the luckiest zoo in the US of A. In 1977, when the Monorail first opened, more than 15 rhinos have contributed to the size and shape of that wallow. Although rhinos can achieve speeds close to 40 miles per hour, they're highly endangered because of their horn. And here's more on that.
The horn of a rhinoceros is very different from that of a goat or antelope.
Monorail. And they're going to be all bunched together waiting to go in, so I'll do the best I can. The most obvious are the large chocolate-colored deer. They're the sandbar deer, the largest deer in southern Asia. Males stand 5.5 feet at the shoulder and weigh 650 pounds. That's a baby sandbar deer right there by the tree. The baby sandbar deer is bigger than the hog deer. Those are not baby deer. They get their name because they're short and squat like hogs, and like hogs would rather creep and crawl under things than leap over them like their deer cousins. As you can see from the male's antlers, that's as big as those little deer will get. In front of the train up here, we have an Indian muntjac, fully grown, 2.5 feet at the shoulder. He's also known as a barking deer for the sound he makes when excited, and the fact that he will use his canine teeth to fight with instead of his antlers. Some more hog deer over here behind the grass. In the middle of the exhibit, you'll find a stream. Sitting in that stream is the newest member of our Monorail family. This is a red-crowned crane, the largest and rarest of the crane species. That's a female. She gets her name from that bald spot on her head that happens to be bright red. She stands 5 feet high with a 7-foot wingspan. She spends her summers in Siberia and migrates to southern Korea for the winter. We're hoping to introduce a male to the species or to the exhibit soon. In some cultures, she's considered a symbol of long life, good luck, and fidelity. Here's another sandbar deer with those impressive antlers. Another hog deer running across the back of the meadow. We're now on the lookout for China's tufted deer. These little elusive deer get their name from a tuft of hair on their head where their antlers would be. That is to follow the back fence line. They're usually running along back there. There's one sitting in the corner if you know what you're looking for. It looks like a large rabbit. You can see the white of his nose. They're extremely rare in zoos outside of China. We're very lucky to have them here. Can guarantee you'll see them in October as they love the cold weather. Peek through the trees, you'll see Patty and Maxine again. Can't hide an elephant. Especially when she's flopping her ears like that. We're now at the highest point of our journey, 35 feet above the Bronx River. The Wildlife Conservation Society realizes how important it is to maintain the Bronx River and Greenway, both as a healthy environment for wildlife and for Bronx residents to enjoy. Once we successfully crossed the river for the second time, we're in the rocky Himalayas, the perfect environment for 2 species of mountain goat. On top of the rock are the markhor, national animal of Pakistan, largest member of the goat family, most identifiable by the male's impressive beard and spiral horns that can reach up to 5 feet in length. The word markhor means snake eater in Persian. Legend has it he ate a snake, and that's how it escaped. Those little guys are baby markhor. We've got 8 or 9 babies in the exhibit. The other goats are the Himalayan tar. They're the ones with the triangular horns that point up and back that protect their head during the head-butting contests of the mating season. They've got a rubbery core at the bottom of their hooves that helps them to grip the rocks like our hiking boots. Now I apologize in advance. The train's going to slow down so I can point out the red panda, but she hasn't been on exhibit all day today. We don't know why, they don't always tell us. So it's not like she's running around on the ground, she's not there, like gone for the Labor Day weekend. The word panda means bamboo eater. That's how she gets her name. She's actually a relative of skunks, raccoons, and